We're going to take a look now at some further functions on the context sensitive menu. In this instance we're going to look at the make tools. Now when we first start the right click context sensitive menu off with nothing selected, they don't appear. So we'll just press escape, we'll pick a group of objects, or we'll pick a number of objects, we'll right click and we'll find that we have the make option. Now we can make them into a block, which we'll deal with under a separate issue, but here we're going to choose pattern. Now what is a pattern? A pattern is a group of objects. So they are connected by virtue of the fact that they're in the same group. They don't need to be on the same layer, in the same pen or anything, the same object type. They can just be a group of objects that belong within a group. We can have nested groups, so we can have, say, a table and chairs as a group with individual groups within that, patterns within that for a table and a selection of chairs, which can all be treated independently. The objects can all be accessed directly because they're not within a block. So we'll say make pattern. If the objects are already within a pattern, we can remove them from that, or we can retain the original pattern grouping. So I'll say yes and then press escape, and what we notice is if we pick individual objects, they're still individual objects, but if we double left click there, we get the group, which gives us the ability then to move, copy. So if I copy, I can move them around or copy them around. Okay, we'll select that. You'll notice that that is a group as well because we copied the group. If we right click and go to make, we have the option of making them into a block. Now a block is something distinct from a pattern in that it's a reference symbol within the group. We're creating a block, and then we'll have a reference to that block within our drawing. So if the original block changes, then all of the instances of that block will change. If we give it a name, so I'll call it box, give it an origin. So I can choose an origin. In this case I'll pick somewhere just in the center of the rectangle for our box, and you notice it's picked up the X, Y and the Z coordinates. Now I can replace all the original objects just with a block, so this will be a block reference. Then we can delete the original object, so we don't need to see these objects, we just wanted to create the block so we can reference it at another time. Or we can retain the original object, say we want to treat the objects in a different way, maybe move on and create another block. So we'll replace the original objects in this instance, and we could put in a description too, which would be useful if you wanted to schedule the blocks within the drawing. And we could put a size in there or whatever. So now you notice it says block created. If I pick the object there, we'll notice we have just a single object, as opposed to selecting the objects here when they're all discrete. And we don't have access to the grips on this, but what we do have, if we select the block, is the ability to explode it, which will put it back to its original objects. We could edit the block, we could edit as a new block, so we could have something similar but distinct. So we could have different types of window or different types of door, for instance. What I'm going to do here though is I'm just going to copy the block, so I've got another block there. If we pick on our original block and edit, we could choose any of them, edit the block. I could go to my lines menu and simply draw across onto our box, right click, option end, or having pressed escape we now have access to the end edit block. So option end or escape just to finish what we were doing, and end edit block, and we notice all instances of that block have updated. If we'd chosen edit as new block, then that would have given us a distinct object. I'm going to pick our block once again, and we notice that we can edit the block. If we right click once again, we see that we can change the block origin. So if we know that we wanted the block origin to be maybe at the center of the top, editing the block, we'll notice that the origin has now moved for our blocks. So it retained the point in space on our drawing, where it was referenced to, but the origin of it has changed. And you notice we still have the option for explode. So to deal with the edit as new block, if we put maybe a circle onto our block, we'll option end edit block. You'll notice that the block below hasn't changed because this block is different. And if we go to object properties, you'll notice that it's box with brackets and a 1 after it, whereas that is just box. Okay, so that's a few more things on the context sensitive menu.